Welcome to the Network Marketing Made Simple podcast. I am your host, Scott Aaron, and each and every week I'm going to come to you with short, simple, and powerful tactics of how you can grow your network marketing business, brand, bank account, and impact on those around you. And just remember, network marketing is not easy, but it can be made easy with simple steps to create the success that you truly deserve. So Gabe, welcome to today's episode. And as my listeners know, there's really not an episode that I don't get excited for. But when I have someone like yourself on here that literally has started from the ground up, the foundation of their business, and that's a pun on what you actually do in real estate. But when you're building houses, you gotta start with the framework, you gotta start with the foundation, and then you can build up from there. And from there, you've actually created a real estate portfolio that is in the multiple seven figures now, and truly living life on your own terms. So number one, welcome to the episode. And number two, for my audience that is not familiar with you, and for those that don't know, Gabe and I were both featured in Yahoo Finance as two of the top entrepreneurs to follow during COVID-19. So that's how Gabe and I actually connected. And we actually have a mutual friend, John Edwin. So if he's listening, John, thanks for connecting us. But, Gabe, what was the moment in your life where that entrepreneurial spark was lit? Not just real estate, but just in life, where you realized, A, I'm psychologically unemployable, and B, I don't want to stop doing this.
Yeah, I think it started at, and first of all, thanks for having me on the show. It's good to connect. I think it started pretty young. I was always attracted to business. I didn't grow up with a lot. I mean, I had a great family, needs were met, but I always wanted more, So at 12 years old, I went and got a paper route because it was the only job available. I was selling candy out of my locker. I was selling in middle school. I was selling condoms out of my locker like freshman year of high school until the school shut that down pretty quick. So I always tried to find ways to make money. And, high school, school really wasn't my thing. Like I stayed in school because of wrestling and because of the social aspect. And then I'd actually joined the Army National Guard my senior year of high school. And a couple years after high school, I picked up the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that book really gave me direction and really changed how I viewed things and how I wanted to go forward. And that's not a how-to book; it's just really a mindset around money, And I used to look at business very differently. I just pictured I had to wear a suit, and I never wear a suit. It had to be in this kind of this stuffy room, and I visualized it very different. That wasn't so much what I was attracted to. What I was attracted to was the freedom that money could potentially bring. And I knew after reading that book, it would be from real estate. I had it dead set in my mind. It was actually the first book I'd ever really read cover to cover, word for word. I had never picked up a book before that sparked my interest. So as I'm reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, I'm going, yes, this makes sense. This is what I'm gonna do. I had no idea how. I just knew that I would be financially free, and it would be through real estate, and that was just fixated in my mind. And that was really the beginning of the mindset and my dream of becoming financially free through real estate.
So here's my next big question. Do you believe, in your honest and humbled opinion, that every single human being has the God-given ability to become financially free?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I think you got to want it though. And I think you have to believe it. I think there's, people tell themselves all the time, like they can't do it or it's impossible or, and that's a belief as well. For me and other successful people that I've been around and met, and really anything great accomplished, it starts in the mind. And so I think if you want it and you believe it, that it's achievable for you, you're going to find a way. I mean, and that's simple.
So second to that, in your honest and humbled opinion, why do you think most people don't become financially free and don't really achieve the goals that they're looking to?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's either they don't think they're capable or they don't believe they're deserving in some way, And I think some of that is just, our culture of hey, you go to college, get a job. I mean, sure, that works for some people, and I think that is kind of the default setting of our society is, hey, go to school, go to more school, go to more school, get a job. And that's just something I was never attracted to. I wasn't attracted to, for one, I didn't want a boss. I've always liked to do my own thing. And it just seemed boring. I mean, a 9 to 5, a Monday through Friday, that's just not something that was super attractive to me. I wanted to live my life on my terms, and, having a job was not gonna do that.
It's interesting that you said 9 to 5, because I recently
Or
found
7 to 7.
I realized, I was having a conversation with a friend, and he actually revealed to me where the 9 to 5 concept came from.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually from Henry Ford. So when Henry Ford opened up Ford Motor Company, he was looking for a systematized way to get everyone on the same schedule, where they knew what time they were coming in, they knew what time they were leaving, they had a set schedule of what they had to accomplish. And that created duplication, and it created a systematized way of how people's days were structured. So then other businesses saw the success that Henry Ford had, and they started duplicating on this 9 to 5 model. So this 9 to 5 model was created by someone that was running this massive corporation that required people to do specific things to get a desired outcome. So, societally, we've been implanted with this 9 to 5 notion that that's how we live our life. I mean, Gabe, just think about it.
Completely made up. It's completely made up, right?
Completely made up. It was an entrepreneur made up a set schedule for other people to follow to make the income that he ended up making. But here's the thing. No one wakes up and says, I want to live a mediocre life. They just don't. And number two, just think about the Groundhog's Day life that most people do live. They wake up the same time every day. They get in the car the same time, the same day. They go to a job. They do their job. They come back home, and that's it. And that's not a way to live your life. And, again, you're out west right now, and we were having a conversation offline a few weeks ago, and you basically said you want to spend the next few years just traveling with you, your wife, and your 2 kids, just seeing the world, because you have the monetary means to do that now. And there's people that are listening to this, and they're like, there's no way I can do that. That sounds great, but I can't achieve that. And again, it's a mindset thing. I always go back to something that I learned also, which is the story of Roger Bannister. And Roger Bannister was the first person to ever break the 4-minute mile barrier. And he was actually told that by medical professionals, if you attempt this, your heart may explode and you may die.
That's right. Yeah.
But he did it anyway. He accomplished the goal. And guess what? He proved the concept. And I think 12.5 people ended up doing the same thing that he did after he proved the concept over the next 2 years. So if you and I are creating the life that we're creating based off of our belief systems, knowing we can do it, there is nothing stopping someone else from doing it too, except that person and the thoughts that are flowing between the 6 inches between their ears.
100% agree. Yep.
So why real estate? And again, you do real estate from a different perspective. So for the listeners that there are different sides to real estate. There is becoming a real estate agent, where you're more on the sales side, the transactional side, where your income is based off of how much volume. And then there's a level above that, which is actually you own a real estate team. So you have a team, and then you have people underneath you that are agents underneath you. And then basically there's shared volume, much like in network marketing. There's real estate developers, where people go in and they develop certain properties, and then they have rentals. And then there's real estate investors, where people invest in properties. So Gabe, talk about the different levels of real estate, and
Sure.
why you chose your level of real estate, and how other people can get involved as well if they see it a good fit.
Yeah, just like you said, there's a lot of different ways to get into real estate. For me, I didn't want to be an agent and broker. It's something I thought about early on because a lot of investors, or some investors, do choose to be agents, become brokers, build a team. I've never had employees. I never want employees. I chose at an early, before I owned my first house, I decided I was going to be an investor, and so that goes back to that mindset. Like in my mindset, hey, I'm going to be an investor, and I wanted to network myself as an investor, not as an agent. I wanted to buy cash producing properties and I wanted to create that cash flow. I didn't want to be in a position where I had to sell the property to someone else or advertise the property. And so, early on, that's what I did. I mean, I bought my first house in 2005. I made business cards that same year that I was an investor and started passing out cards. And, that's how I found my second house, because I opened my mouth and told the guy at the gym, hey, I'm an investor. I'm looking for a home in this area. And his friend's dad sold me a house, and it was in a hot market. I bought it way below market value. And I quickly realized just the power of organic networking, like true, genuine, organic networking. And the best deals that I find are off market, because I've opened my mouth and said, hey, here's what I'm looking for. And just building genuine relationships.
That brings me to a really good discussion point, because I tell people all the time that there's different views on entrepreneurship. There's different vehicles of entrepreneurship. So you
Sure.
have people that are, real estate entrepreneurs. You have business coaches like myself. You have network marketers. You have someone that is an entrepreneur that starts a company and then has employees. But it all comes back to networking. Most people are doing something and they're just waiting for people to come to them. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to burst your bubble, but that's not going to happen. Now, will you have people that refer people to you? Absolutely. When you touch enough lives and you impact enough people, that happens. But why do you think Gabe and I are on this podcast today? Because we were networking. We saw that we were featured in the same article. We became friends on Facebook. I reached out and I said, would love to hop on a call to learn more about what you're doing. We got on a call. We realized we had some mutual friends, and here we are. And there could be future collaborations from this, because it's all about networking, because there's things that Gabe can supply my network that I can, and there's things that I can supply his network that he can't. That's why you network with people. So for the people that are listening to this, Gabe, as far as level of importance,
Sure.
where would you slide networking when building any business on that scale? How important is it for people to become successful in using networking as one of their main tools?
Yeah, no, I think it's extremely, extremely important. I think it's important. If you don't open your mouth and tell people what you're looking for, they're not going to bring you a deal. Look, I knew nobody in the real estate world. I knew nobody really in business. I knew nobody with money when I got started. But when I started having those conversations, and they were very natural, I never went into it with, oh, what can I get from them, or what can they sell me, or even what does this relationship mean? I like you and I talking to each other. I mean, we don't know where this is going to come. I mean, I get in conversation all the time. Some conversations may lead to friendships. Some may lead to future business opportunities. But I never go into a conversation trying to get anything, or it's just I like people, and I think it's important to conversate with people. And then going back to on the business side, you just never know. What other people have to offer until you open your mouth and tell them, what you're looking for. I mean, some of my best deals are because I opened my mouth and just said, hey, here's what I'm doing. And I've shared that with so many people, and it seems so easy, but there's so many people that I've talked to recently that they go, oh my gosh, I had no idea. They're trying to get into real estate, and they go, I've worked with this guy for 3 years. I had no idea he had rental properties. And then I opened my mouth and told him I want to start investing. He starts telling me about his properties, or the lady down the street wants to sell her house, but I never knew that until I opened my mouth and said I'm looking to buy. So I think it's important. No one's going to know what you're looking to do if you don't tell them.
So the other interesting thing that you do is people, Nancy and I have our first rental property, and when we were having our conversation, you said something really interesting, that you actually didn't have any money to actually purchase your first rental property. You did it with little to no money. So, and when people are hearing that, they're like, well, how could that be? How can you actually buy a property and have an investment property without having any income? So talk about that whole concept and how other people can actually look into doing the same thing.
Yeah, so it started off with 2005. I went to the bank and I had no money, no job, and this was during the subprime, so they were giving loans to anyone. So the first couple deals, it was pretty easy. 2005, the bank gave me a no money down loan. 2006, same thing. First house house hacked. I lived in one room, rented out the other two rooms. 2007, 05, 06, 07, bought another house with 5% down. So I have these three homes, and I'm thinking this is easier than anything I had ever read. Like, I'm just going to the bank and they're approving me for loans. And the properties cash flowed a little bit, but not enough to live on. So, 2008, everything really changed. In 2008, I had actually started a small nutrition store in 06. By 2008, it wasn't making any money. And by 2008, my first son was born, and I ended up shutting the store down. And I went back to the bank and said, hey, I want to buy another property. And they said, well, too bad. You actually need a job and income. You need to qualify. You need to come up with 30% down. And I'm going, I don't have 30% down. I had been spoiled with these easy loans. And I actually shut my store down and I went and got a minimum wage job. And it was this time in my life where it was, do I pursue, my dream of becoming financially free through real estate, or do I just submit to, having a low paying job and a job that I don't like for the rest of my life? And a couple months into that job, I said, no, I need to focus on real estate. And so in 2009, I bought my first seller financing deal. And seller financing essentially is where, rather than getting a bank loan, you have the sellers finance the deal. And I have not used traditional financing to purchase a property other than those first three properties, which you can barely consider traditional financing because it was back during the subprime. Every property I've purchased from 2009 on has been with non-bank money. It's either been seller financing, private money, hard money. Now I will refinance into bank financing, but there's a big opportunity for both the buyer and the seller using seller financing to purchase properties. And one of the biggest advantages to me, especially early on, was I came into these deals with no money. And part of that was just out of necessity. I just didn't have money. So I had to find sellers that were okay doing a no money down deal.
So let's talk about the compounded effect, because I love that. It's a great book by Darren Hardy, and
Absolutely. Great book.
it's just small things done every day. So share with people now from a very high level, 15 years after getting into the real estate game, what does your real estate portfolio look like today?
Yeah, today I have about 175 rental units, and it's a mix of single family, small multifamily, some mixed use commercial, some mobile home park. And I'm looking to grow that as well. And so, yeah, 175 units. One thing that I've always focused on is cash flow first. And so that's what's been able to get me to scale. I don't speculate in the sense of the deal has to work based on appreciation. So it's always been cash flow first. Yes, a lot of wealth has been built through appreciation and being able to leverage those properties. But I've also watched a lot of people lose money in the last downturn because they were only banking on appreciation. So early on, it was, hey, the property makes sense today. It cash flows from the day I buy it. Now, I like to speculate in the sense of, yes, there's upside. I love poorly managed, under rented properties with deferred maintenance where there is that upside. I just don't ever rely solely on that upside.
So how has the last 15 years prepared you for 2020 with what's going on with COVID-19? Because, real estate has been very affected. I mean, my wife and I were very blessed. We bought our dream home actually during the beginning of COVID-19. We settled in March, and that's been a godsend. And we ended up, instead of selling our last home, we actually turned it into a rental property because there was high demand for rentals right now. So what do you feel the last 15 years has prepared you for as far as what's going on with COVID-19 right now? And how important is it for people that are looking to get started, or they're looking to pivot, they're looking to make some sort of change in their life right now in 2020? What's the best thing they can do? But again, more importantly, how has these last 15 years prepared you for what's going on right now?
Yeah, I think the biggest way it's prepared me is really, I feel very fortunate that there's not a lot that has changed in my life in that sense. Financially, the real estate is strong. I know there's some crazy stats out there that tenants aren't paying rent, but the reality is all my tenants, with the rare exception and unrelated to COVID, are paying rent. And investors that I know all over the country, it's the same thing. I know there was a stat that said like 30% of tenants aren't paying rent. Everyone I know, it's like 98, 99, 100% of tenants are paying rent. So I feel very fortunate, that I have real estate and built this. A lot of people say, "Oh, I have a job because it's safe," and I've always actually thought, no, a job is very unsafe, because at any time they can let you go. At any time, like, somebody else controls your income. If they say, "Hey, we don't need you," and we're going to start to see that. I mean, people are losing their jobs, and we are, as an economy right now, propped up on printed money. I mean, businesses are propped up on printed money, uh, you know, the unemployment, but at some point that's going to run out. And so even though we're kind of propped up right now, at some point, not all those jobs are going to come back right away. Not all those businesses are going to be able to keep going when that money runs out. And so having income that's unrelated to a job is very important at a time like this.
It's one of those things where you can't prepare for what's going on right now. But like you said, I don't care how, in air quotes, secure your job may be right now. When you are building somebody else's dream, when you are working for someone else, there is no job security in that. Zero.
None. There's none. No.
The only job security you ever have is when it's your own. And I am so grateful that I got out of the fitness industry when I did in 2016. I had multiple gyms, but I ended up, selling two, and then opened up a third and final, and that was it. And then I had my, personal training clients. And I keep thinking about, if that was my business in 2020, where would I be? Because
Yep.
my gym would still be closed right now. I still would not be personal training, and I would not have any money. And I think when I saw the opportunity that the online space, the internet, provided for entrepreneurs and business owners, it was a no-brainer for me, because Gary Vaynerchuk says it. He goes, your net worth is always directly correlated to your net worth. Net worth equals net work. And I realized that I had to really focus on growing my network if I wanted to grow my net worth, because my business, my company has grown each of the last 3 years because my network has grown right along with it. And it's really important for people that are listening to this right now. You may still have your 9 to 5, and Gabe and I are not telling you you're going to get fired tomorrow. But at some point, you got to think about, is who I'm working for, the company I'm working for, is that company going to provide me the vehicle or provide me the opportunity to live life on my own terms? And here's the thing. Could you take 6 to 8 months off right now and still live? And I think something that COVID-19 did, Gabe, it really brought to the surface the monetary divide that our country actually is in right now.
I agree. Absolutely.
That middle class that everyone thought had months and years of income stashed away, realized that it was a lot on borrowed credit. So again, what would you say, for people that don't know much about real estate, but, are more interested in really stepping into entrepreneurship, for taking that first baby step? Where would you recommend, or what would you recommend that person to do right now to at least start moving forward in a direction where they are actually designing their own life?
Yeah, I think specific to real estate, go back and educate yourself. I mean, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, read some of the other books in that series. Go get, there's a lot of real estate podcasts, Bigger Pockets, go back and listen to the last 100 episodes, but at some point be ready to take action. A lot of people get in that analysis paralysis, or they say, "Oh, the market's hot right now." But if you're not going through the process now, a lot of people say, "I'm sitting out, I'm sitting out, I'm sitting out, I'm going to wait." But a lot of people that wait for the bottom, they never buy at the bottom. They never. So I think it's important to educate yourself, but also go through that process. Start looking at properties. Start talking to lenders. Start getting educated as much as possible. Because if you're not going through that process, you're not analyzing deals, you're not going to be ready when something comes across your table. I had a buddy recently who turned his first property into a rental, bought another property, and for almost a year, he was just like, "Man, I don't know. I'm looking at all these properties, analyzing all the properties." I said, "Keep doing it," because it wasn't penciling. But it's because he went through that process. When a property came across his table that did make sense, he had gone through the process so many times, he knew and was ready to pull the trigger. Where a lot of people never go through the process. They've never analyzed the deal. They've never looked at properties. They've never gone through the process. So even if a good deal hit them in the face, they wouldn't know and they wouldn't have the courage to pull the trigger. So I think it's important. It's what I did in 05 and 06. So that when it came time, in a downturn in 09, I was very prepared to take advantage of all these opportunities in front of me, where a lot of people didn't, because they were afraid. They didn't have the background and the hours of analyzing and looking at deals.
Action is the cure-all to feeling stuck. If
Absolutely.
we're not trees, we can move. So if you don't like where you are, just take action, even if it's a little bit. I tell people all the time that, I don't care if you take action and it's, a millimeter or a mile, but if you're moving forward, you're going to end up getting to where you want to go. But the other thing is this, speaking on shelf help, that's what a lot of people have right now. They have all these podcasts and these books and these downloads and these courses, and they're doing nothing with them.
Yep.
The only way to learn is to actually take that step forward. I always come back. People always ask me, like, how did you learn how to use LinkedIn? Well, I taught myself. I got on there and I started playing around. I started seeing what people were doing, and I changed this. And when you start to figure something out, every master was once a disaster. And you didn't start real estate in 2005 and in 2 years have 175 properties. That 175 property portfolio is 15 years of compounded interest.
That's right. And it feels easy now because I've gone through that process so many times. I knew nothing when I started, absolutely nothing. But it feels easy now, and I can make decisions easier now because I've gone through that process, because I've spoke that language for so many years, because I've gotten in conversations and asked the right questions early on. So you got to go through the process.
It's amazing. So before I get to my final question, Gabe, for those people that do want to connect with you offline and do want to hear more about you and what you do and how you can potentially help them, what's the best way for the audience to get in touch with you?
Yeah, the best way, I'm active on Instagram. So just Gabriel R. Hamel, or if you search Gabriel Hamel, you'll find me on Instagram. And you can connect with me on Facebook or LinkedIn, and my website's hamelinvestments.com.
Awesome. So final question before we sign off, Gabe, what does success truly mean to you?
Yeah, I think success is living life on your terms, and that can look different to different people. But I think ultimately it's really about what is it that you want in life. Like, what does the ideal life look like for you? And I think success is living that life that you desire.
I completely agree. My friend Michelle Scaff always says, live your life like you're a life architect. How are you going to design it? And
Right.
I love the concept of a life architect, because we have the ability as human beings to build whatever we want, whenever we want, however we want. So Gabe, I'm just so grateful that you were here with me in the audience today. Thank you so much for your wisdom, your time, your energy, your effort, everything that you put into this. And I just want to wish you continued success. And thank you so much again for being here today.
Yeah, likewise. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So guys, as always, all the contact information that Gabe just mentioned will be in the show notes. So I highly encourage you to follow him on Instagram, connect with him if there's something that he said that really, really stuck out to you. And again, the only way that you can't attain and reach your goals is if you don't take action. So keep moving forward so you can achieve those goals and live the life that you truly deserve. So guys, please enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you again so much for checking out this week's episode. And if you can, head over to iTunes, search for Network Marketing Made Simple, leave me a 5-star rating, basic review. I would be grateful for all of the support you guys can give me. And again, if you'd be interested in learning more how to utilize LinkedIn to grow your business, your brand, and your bank account, head over to my website, www.scottaaron.net. Fill out the form for your free 15-minute discovery call so I can learn more about you, your business, and how we can work together. And again, thank you guys so much. Grateful for you all, and I'll see you next time.